So, happy 4th of July, people. Today, I was on Facebook just scrolling through my news feed, and I actually have ABC News on my list of likes. And this one, which was posted 8 hours before I saw it, it said, Los Angeles is answering cruelty with compassion by giving hope and assistance to people in desperate need, Mayor Eric Garcetti says. And the headline is, Los Angeles approves $10 million to help separated children. And here's a picture that it's about protesters, and some of the sign says, not the America I love, end family detention, give me your tired, you're poor, you're huddled, masses yearning. And another one says, I can't see the yellow part, but it says end zero tolerance policy. So this is definitely an article about Trump's zero tolerance policy on illegal immigration. A lot of people nowadays have sent pictures of cages and have talked against the separation of families at the border. And the funny thing is, a lot of the pictures were actually taken during Obama's term in office. But since Trump had this new zero tolerance policy, a lot of the blame is getting thrown on him, and it doesn't help that he's very unpopular among liberals nowadays with his idea of the Muslim ban and some of the other things that he has said. So the most striking thing, honestly, about this post is not the actual headline itself, but the comments. A lot of the comments actually are talking about why Los Angeles isn't helping its own people, isn't helping Americans, isn't helping the homeless or the veterans, And it is it's a valid point. A lot of veterans, they come back from the military and they're actually homeless, Veterans, they get a lot of benefits. They get free schooling and they get health care, I believe. If they're wounded, they get other pensions. But honestly, a lot of veterans are not getting help, and it's not an issue that's new. Back then, during Hoover's era, that was after World War I, you probably heard of Hoovervilles, but if you haven't, I'll tell you what it is. There were camps of veterans around Washington, D.C., I believe, and they were protesting. They were demanding the payment from the government. And the government never actually paid these World War I veterans. What happened was the police, I think they went in and they slaughtered a lot of the veterans. I don't know how many people actually died, but a lot of them, received injuries. They burned the homeless town afterwards. A lot more recently, I think in the past decade, there was a news article about how California demanded new recruits to the military to give their enlistment bonuses back. So what happened was California mistakenly offered enlistment bonuses, and a lot of people joined the military at that time, and then California was like, oops, sorry, my mistake, screw you, give us our money back. And that wasn't a really good move. A lot of people were not happy with that. And it's true. America, especially California, has to do something about the veterans problem. Like the veterans are coming back. They need to be rehabilitated and put back to society. A lot of them are coming back injured. A lot of them are coming back with, not physical issues, but mental issues like PTSD. And they need to be taken care of, honestly. And because a lot of the veterans, at least nominally, are defending the country, defending the value that the Americans treasure so much, I believe that, it's the taxpayers' job. It's their responsibility to help these veterans become integrated into society again. Now, the homeless issue, apart from the veterans, that's also a big issue, Having homeless people, is a problem for society. Not only does it make America look bad to the outside world, but when you have people who are homeless and they're just camping next to the street, it creates a lot of problems. It creates sanitary problems, and a lot of homeless people, there's drug addicts, there's criminals, Um, One of the police sergeants I talked to recently, a couple months ago, said that a lot of the homeless people who camp around the university I go to, they're convicted for crimes, and a lot of them are not mentally stable. And having these kind of people around the community creates a problem for other people. And honestly, not all homeless people are like this, but and we shouldn't demonize homeless people just for the fact that they're homeless, and some people happen to be criminals, and some people happen to be mentally unstable, and some people happen to do drugs. We need to also, like veterans, have another policy to help integrate them back into society. I believe I read another article that in Texas, they were integrating homeless people back into the community. The town was actually doing it by having them pick up trash. And they were getting paid minimum wage, and they had access to temporary housing. And I think that's a great idea. And I think that California should just stop its gentrification policies and, help these people in need. And it's great how people are so interested in family values and in helping the children become reunited with their families. But if it's $10 million that could be going to our citizens, that could be used to help veterans, used to help addicts and other homeless people reintegrate back into society, I think that, it's ridiculous. It's a bad use of money, when America has its own problems, to be spending this kind of money on people who aren't even citizens. It's not new. America has done this throughout its entire history. America's been going into places like Korea, places like Vietnam, and putting American lives in danger. And especially in the Middle East. A lot of the American politicians have received a lot of flack and criticism from the people. It's not good for the American people. It's a really bad deal to be sending our sons, our fathers, our brothers, our husbands to the Middle East to help people who don't even want our help. It's crazy. It's a lot of taxpayer dollars. It costs hundreds of thousands of dollars just to do an airstrike. I think I read somewhere that in less than an hour, the cost of jet fuel is almost $100,000, not to mention the weapons. It costs a lot more for us to destroy a little bit of them. And it's just drains taxpayer dollars. This is taxpayer dollars that can be going towards veterans and towards homeless people. This is a lot of money spent on unnecessary combat. If the guys in the Middle East really cared about their homes, about their lives, they would fight for themselves. They would defend what they love and stop relying on American handouts. Because it's really not fair for Americans. It's not fair for taxpayers. And it's not fair for the people in the Middle East, especially the innocent people who are having their homes and their loved ones eliminated, not only by the militant groups there or the states there, but also by American intervention. So back to the topic, let's go to the actual article and see what the actual article has to say about this. So now we're on the ABC News site and we're going to read the article. The headline is the same. Los Angeles approves $10 million to help separated children, by the Associated Press. Okay, so here in the picture, the caption is, people hold signs as they participate in the Families Belong Together Freedom for Immigrants March on Saturday, June 30th, 2018 in Los Angeles, in major cities and tiny towns. Los Angeles on Tuesday approved using a $10 million fund to provide legal help to children separated from their parents at the U.S.-Mexico border. The City Council and County Board of Supervisors voted to expand the LA Justice Fund created last year to help immigrants without violent pasts who are facing deportation. Los Angeles Mayor Eric Garcetti and Supervisor Hilda Solis announced creation of the fund in 2016 ahead of an anticipated immigration crackdown by President Donald Trump. Garcetti said in a news release Tuesday that no child should endure the trauma of being separated from their parents or the terror of not knowing if they will ever see their families again. We must do everything possible to reunify these families now, Garcetti said. Los Angeles is answering cruelty with compassion by giving hope and assistance to people in desperate need. Solis said the county will always stand with immigrants and asylum seekers. No one in this country, let alone a small child, should be forced to defend themselves in court alone, she said in a news release. She said the U.S. Office of Refugee Resettlement estimates more than 100 children are in the area after being separated from their parents. More than 2,000 children have been taken from their families at the border in recent weeks and scattered in different states under Trump's zero-tolerance policy, which criminally prosecutes adults caught crossing the border illegally. But amid an international outcry, Trump issued an executive order last week to stop the separation of immigrant families at the border. So let's go back and see what the $10 million is actually going to do. It's going to provide legal help to children separated from their parents at the U.S.-Mexican border. Legal help. This means, from what I understand, that the $10 million is going to go towards lawyers. That's a lot of money going to lawyers. Now, it said that no child should endure the trauma of being separated from their parents. So, they're catering to your emotions to try to push their agenda, And a lot of people, especially those who have children, understand and sympathize with this. They sympathize with the children who have been taken away from their families. But it says at the end that Trump actually ordered the end of the separation of immigrant families at the border. So I don't see what the problem is anymore. And I don't see why the $10 million are actually needed. And they said that there are more than 100 children in the area after being separated from their parents. Okay, more than 100 children. Let's double it. Let's assume that there are 200 children. So there's $10 million going to provide legal help. And there are just randomly estimated 200 children. How much money is actually going to these children? So 10 million divided by 100 is 100,000, and divide that by 2, it's $50,000 per child. $50,000 per child? That's like an average American's annual earning. That's crazy. That is a lot of money. It's great that Americans want to help children. It's a great thing. But at the cost of Americans. You know what I mean? That's the problem with actions like this that use money, is because there are scarce resources. You can't have $10 million for everybody. There are scarce resources, and one of the things that governments need to decide, whether they're national or all the way down to the city level, is how to use this money. Ultimately, these are American taxpayers paying, these $10 million. They're coming from taxpayer dollars. So I think that honestly, Los Angeles needs, the city should ask its citizens. Ask the citizens, ask the residents, is it okay if we spend the $10 million on immigrant children? And they should try to stay away from using emotions in their argument and actually inform the people. where else the 10 million could go to. Instead of asking people, is it okay for the $10 million to be spent on legal help for children separated from their parents, they should ask, or would you rather have this $10 million spent for giving homeless people job retraining, or helping PTSD victims, or helping, housing veterans or something, $10 million, we could use it to fix roads, give more money to schools. They could spend that $10 million in so many different places. So ask the people if it's okay. And why I say this is that recently there has been a protest in KTown. A lot of people are not happy that the government is turning public city lots into homeless shelters. The people have actually protested against this. To a random person, yeah, it's great to help homeless people, but ultimately you have to ask the residents, you have to ask the people. And I think that this $10 million is, how they spent it is not a really smart idea. But anyway, this is my 2 cents on this, and I believe that moving forward, the city of Los Angeles, and honestly any other American city, any other state, and even the country, should really try to see what do the citizens want and do what's best for Americans. You can't force the people to pay taxes. You can't expect people to pay for taxes and not have it go back to them. One of the reasons America declared its independence from Britain is the fact that Britain was imposing taxation without representation. So I think that Americans, if they truly believe in democracy, should, when citizens of your country are suffering, of your city, your residents of your city are suffering, you need to help them first before you go out and you help people who have not chosen legal routes into entering America. My final word in a nutshell is help the working people. Help working class Americans before you help other people. If all the working class people are happy, they can survive, they have living wages, they have fair wages, and they have all their health care, they have access to education if they want it and they're qualified, then sure, America should help these children from the border. But while there's still working class people who are working their ass off, some of these Americans are working double shift without health insurance, getting paid shit. It's not fair for this kind of money to be given towards people of another state. So anyway, enjoy the rest of your 4th of July, enjoy those fireworks, and I will see you later.